think we're recording right now. I think it's going. I'm trying some new software out tonight. I can't tell if things are working. Hang on just one second. Can you guys hear me? No sound? You got to be kidding me. It shows it's playing sound. No sound. Really? Hang on. You can hear me, huh? Very quiet. Okay, let me turn up the gain a little bit. How about now? How about now? How's that? Okay. I got the gain turned up a little bit, maybe too much. I don't know. You guys will have to tell me. I don't know how I ended up with two. Yeah, sorry. Much better, maybe a little more. Turn it up a little more. All right, how about now? Here, we'll just turn it up all the way. I was afraid it was going to be picking up too much background noise. Now I'm probably too loud, huh? I think that's about as loud as it's going to go. I move the microphone a little closer, maybe. All right, we're going to give a minute, let everybody else get in here because somehow I got two live feeds going. I don't know if everybody figured it out and got over here or not. I'm trying out some new. I'm using OBS Studio to try to broadcast from tonight. Trying it out, trying to figure it out. I've never used it before, so anyway, not as good as normal, huh? Let me see if I can fix that maybe. And that's not what I want. Let's see. Open sound settings. Where's my input? Test my microphone. I want. Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully it's good enough. I'll talk loud. We'll figure that out later because I'm wasting everybody's time right now. So let's just jump right into it. You guys already know the rules. Just talk about anything we want to talk about. Ask me anything you want to talk about, and keep it family friendly, all that good stuff. Hello to everybody that's joined already. I see Aaron Guidros. I think I got your name right. Ed Got Bait, Jennifer Myers, a whole bunch of people saying hello. Thanks for all the helping me troubleshoot tonight, guys. Sorry. Yeah, Spartman says it's good tinkering, or good software, but takes a bit of tinkering. Yeah, I'm trying it out to see if it gets a better quality video feed. I don't know honestly, but we'll work through it. We'll figure it out. Um, See if I can add bass to it. I don't even know how to do that right offhand. I'm afraid. Um, I just don't know. I think we're gonna have to deal with what it is tonight because I'm afraid to do too much. So, all right. We had a question come up from somebody. So I'm in the dark. It's too dark, huh? Let me turn the light up a little bit. There we go. How's that? Is that a little better? Okay. uh, uh, it was so many issues here. I wish there was a way I could test this out without having to actually go live, but we'll work through it, I guess. Hopefully, let's see what we can do. I know I had a question come up. Best way to introduce new quail. This is from Ben. Um, all right, Ben. So yeah, it's difficult to introduce new quail to each other. If you're talking about full-grown adult quail, um, and they're established with each other, you can't. It's hard to move them together because they do want to pick on each other and fight. If you can do it in the off season, when there's the daylight's low, you're not getting the birds aren't laying eggs, the roosters aren't crowing. You're going to have a little bit better luck. They're going to be a little bit more docile at that point. So if you can reduce the amount of light they're get them to kind of calm down, quit laying eggs, quit crowing. They're not in breeding mode at that time. They don't have as many hormones going through their body. They're going to be a little bit more docile. You can also do it a couple of other ways, but that's probably the easiest, best way to do it. Moving them in at night when it's dark out so they don't see each other, that can help too. If you can move them all to a brand new environment that's new for all of them, so you're not moving some birds into an existing cage, but you're moving all the birds to a new cage together, that can help quite a bit. Or if you even can take the birds that are in that cage, take them out, put them in a big Rubbermaid tub or something with the birds, mix them all up. So you have some of the new birds with the old birds and some of the old birds with some of the other new birds, and in different groups, and then try to combine them all together. That can help too. Hopefully that kind of gives you some answers to help you with that. But if you need more, let me know. You can adjust your audio in mic on OSB and the PC. Yeah, I've got the audio turned all the way up. I just muted it, unfortunately. I've got it turned all the way up. I don't see the... Wait a minute. There's a mic auxiliary. What does this do? I don't know if that does any good. I don't know. Maybe it's working. We'll figure it out. Figure it out later. All right, PJ Homestead says, hey, let me scroll down and make sure there's not. All right, yeah, if you guys are first time here, sorry, I'm testing out new streaming software. It's not working the best right now, so, be patient with me. I'm doing the best I can. I got distracted by. I lost track of where I was. And it says, looks like my bit rate may be a little low for video. It's probably internet issues. Light's a lot better. Good. Much better. Good. Brandon from Whiskey Tango Farms is here. Doing well. Hopefully you are too. If I missed your question, if you asked one and I missed it, ask again. I'm kind of a little bit unorganized this evening. So Don from Central or Southwest Central Illinois, good to see you. Hello to you, Sundial Fragrance. Who's that? Kunda Lisa says, Chris, it was a cool effect. You looked omnipotent. Omnipotent, huh? Okay. Verna says, introduce at dusk, less likely to fight, talking about mixing older quail with newer quail. That's a good idea. Andy Rabbit's here. Good to see you. Says, hey, Chris, Verna, Brandon, and Don. Andy says, let's see, hello, Andy. Or Aaron, sorry, Aaron says this. Hello, Andy, Verna. Okay, talking to each other. I'll let you guys do that. David Lister says, oh, there you are. Yep, I made it. Sorry about the confusion there. I don't know how I ended up with two streams going. Kenneth says, if they don't like each other, squirt some vinegar and water on them. I have heard of that before, too, and I don't know why that would work, but, I've heard of that. Mist them down with some vinegar mixed with water, and that may help them kind of get along with each other. You could try it. It's worth trying. Hey, Blessed with Pets is here. Says, set a timer to get to your live. Then my first phone doesn't work. Then my laptop died. Oh my goodness, scrolled. And then I charged my laptop and the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. And finally, I'm here. It's okay. You didn't miss much. I'm troubleshooting things right now. Andy says, I got the pop-up when it was like, oh, it's Thursday today. Yeah, that happens. Well, thank you guys all for, like I said, hanging in there with me and being patient while I troubleshoot things here. Brandon says the audio and video is fine. Well, thank you. Blessed with Pets says you can hear me just fine. Good. Kenneth says if you put a new quail in with old womb, I don't know what that is, old something cage, and they don't like each other, spray them with vinegar and water in the cage. Okay. Yeah, I think that was the one we just talked about. You're right. I've heard that's a good practice. I've never tried it actually, but yeah, it could work. PJ Homestead says, let's see, I bought these really expensive purebred American chinchilla rabbits for homestead use, aka meat and fur, conservation of the breed, etc. Two does from one breeder, sisters, and a pedigree buck. And the trouble is, when I try to breed the does, after they got to age a few months back, one failed and the other had four. After that, I have tried again and again, and they have failed almost every time. What should I do? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. There's a lot of different reasons it could be for that, but honestly, you're talking about only having four babies, failing over and over again. It almost sounds like a genetics issue to me, unless they're overweight. If they're overweight, I mean, it could be an issue with them being overweight. Fat around their ovaries and things like that can cause it, difficulty with them being able to actually have, get pregnant and have babies and kindle. So that could be it. You may try putting them on a diet for a little while, cutting back just a little bit on their food, getting them to lose just a little bit of weight. I hate to say it, unfortunately, but sometimes you just get bunk rabbits, and it's nobody's fault. It just happens from time to time. Purebreds, though, they should be good. So we'll see if anybody else has got some suggestions on that. But my guess would be, if they're overweight, that would be the biggest thing I would look at. I wish I had better advice for you, but you may be stuck with, you may have to look for new rabbits, unfortunately, but we'll see what everybody else says. Rogers Rabbitry says, butcher my first rabbit dispatching was harder than I thought. Try the broomstick when I just couldn't get them to hold their head under the stick. Yeah, it's a little tricky to get them to hold still. You kind of got to just manhandle them. I kind of hold them down, put the stick on them, put one foot on the one side of the stick, grab them with my other hand, put the other foot on, and then grab and pull real quick. It's just kind of a fluid, kind of quick motion. But they're not going to just sit there and let you do it. It's a little tricky for sure. Bob Cole says, howdy y'all. Chris, audio and video fine. Skin color on your face a little lighter. Look fine for wintertime. Yeah, well, I got this light on pretty bright here. It's just right off screen, so I turned it way up because everybody was saying it was too dark. Maybe I can turn it back down a little bit. Let's try that and see what happens here. Just turn it down just a touch and see. How's that? Maybe that's a little better. I got a little bit of a shadow now. Well, on the other side. It's reversed. It's weird. Ben says, is there any way to increase egg size? I have had a few small eggs recently. I don't know unless you've just like drastically changed their feed, like, gone from a really high protein to a low protein or something like that. It's probably just an adjustment period for whatever reason. If you got that same cold snap that the rest of the country got, where it got just brutally cold and just like that, it made my birds shut down for a day or two. They got a little bit stressed out from that. They shut down, and whenever they shut down laying and start laying again, you're going to see, like egg size varies quite a bit. You'll get smaller eggs, and you just have to give them a little bit of time. They'll get through that, and they'll get back up to their normal egg laying. But if they're molting and they quit laying, any of those kinds of things happen, it's going to be normal for you to get some smaller, weird eggs. But they'll get back to it. You just got to give them a little bit of time to do that. That would be my guess on it. If it's not that, let me know. I don't know of a way to make their egg size increase, like I said, unless you've just really any of those situations that I talked about. You just got to give them some time and they'll get back into it. But that's it. I mean, there's not, we were getting larger eggs before and now you're getting smaller eggs, just give them a little bit of time. They'll get back to laying the bigger eggs. David says, Chris, have you ever had any experience with chucker partridge? I have not. We've talked about that quite a bit on here lately. I don't remember who it is that has some experience with them, but it's not me. I have not actually ever raised them. The Bam Life says, I work remotely and looking to move to Missouri. Any suggestions for specific areas to move to? If you could move to anywhere, where would you go? Well, I like Joplin, Missouri area myself because I'm kind of biased. This is where I'm from, so I kind of like this area. What I like about it is we have the Great Plains to the north. You don't have to go, hey, look at that. There's Lars in here with a super chat with 169 Danish crowns, I think it is. Thank you so much, Lars. I appreciate that. I knew it was Lars right away. I mean, he's the one that does the Danish crowns, so knew it. Okay, what I like about this part of the country, about Missouri, or Joplin, Missouri anyway, we're in the very southwest corner of the country. So we've got Arkansas, the Boston Mountains, 30, 45 minutes to the south. We've got the Great Plains just 30 minutes to the north. They're starting right there. The prairie land and all that. We've got the Ozark Mountains about 45 minutes to the east, and then Oklahoma. I don't know if that's great or not, but Oklahoma's right there, and Kansas is right there too. I kind of like having that all right here. But there's lots of great places in Missouri. I like the Ozarks quite a bit, so I would look in the Ozarks regions. That's going to be anywhere between. I'd stay out of St. Louis. I'd stay out of Kansas City. Um, it depends on really what you're looking for. If you want flat land, big farmland, that's going to be more of a northern Missouri kind of. From Kansas City down, that's all pretty wide open. Like I said, prairie land, farmland. If you want kind of hilly, mountainy kind of stuff, real pretty views, that's going to be more like the Ozark region, which is going to be more around like from Branson up towards St. Louis, that area in there. All that area is going to be very much like very, very like the Ozarks. It's going to be Ozark Mountains. Um, Lots of rock, lots of rock. So if you plan on digging a whole bunch, you may not want to live there because it's all limestone. But that I don't know if I can give you great advice. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for, unfortunately. Um, all right, let's see. Sundial says, Chris, do you think it's okay to add 3-week-old quail to 9-week-old quail? Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I had young birds 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even 5 weeks old in with existing birds all the time, and they do great. Very seldom, if ever, have any kind of issues with that. Now, once they get up past about 6 weeks and they're starting to get sexually mature, then you start running into where they want to fight, they get territorial, all those kinds of things. But young birds, moving them in with older birds, they seem to just integrate right in, no problems whatsoever. That's a great way to do it. Let's see. Oh, Vay says she would advise against that personally. I've done it a lot. I've moved young birds in with older birds, 2-week-old birds in with adult birds, 3-week-old birds. I mean, they've done fine almost every time. Very seldom, if ever, do I have any issues with them. PJ says, do you think it is a problem with my buck? I mean, it's possible. It could be. If you have enough opportunity to try him out with another buck, you could kind of work that out. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, and those things are kind of hard to track down. With the doe that only had 4, that makes me think it's probably not the buck. But you're talking about failed. I guess what you mean is they never got pregnant or something like that. That could be the buck. That could for sure. So I mean, it may not be a bad idea to try to test out. See if you can maybe talk to the breeder you bought those from, and see if you can test out another buck. Maybe without having to buy it. Maybe agree to split the litter with them or something like that, and then you could kind of work it out and see. Let's see. Kundalisa says, my quail got out and they were at my back door. I energetically said, hello, I'm coming to get you. And they were so calm. That is until my cat went for one of them, spooked it across the yard, and then there's more to that here in just a second. I don't see it right at hand, so I'll have to read the rest of that story here in a second. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the times when they get out, they just don't go. They just kind of hang out. They don't go anywhere. And if they do, they wear out pretty quick. So they may fly. Mine do anyway. They get out. They're just sitting there. When I go to grab them, of course, they're like, wait, I don't want to be grabbed, and they take off. But they only go, 10, 15 yards, hit the ground. The next jump, they're maybe 6, 7 yards, and the next jump, it's like 3 yards, and then the next, then they're just done. They just lay there and let me pick them up. Anyway, Blessed with Pets says, so I finally got a proven pedigree show mini Rex doe 3 days ago. How long should I wait to breed her? Born May 16th. So let's see, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. She's probably ready to breed now. So whenever you want to, go ahead and breed her. And PJ says, yeah, I usually get at least 2 fall-offs on your buck. So sounds like there's no issue with the breeding. Who knows? It's kind of hard to say. I don't know what that means either. Oh my goodness. I scrolled and lost track. There we go. I'm back on track. I thought I was anyway. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Brandon's saying the same thing. Sundial. He says that the younger birds might get picked on once they hit maturity. Otherwise, I've had good luck with introducing younger 3 to 4 week olds with adults. Yeah, I have too. It's worked out really well. Um, Andy Rabbit says I've had 10 baby rabbits from a new buck and one fall off. Yeah, you don't necessarily need multiple fall offs whenever you're breeding. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and let them have multiple fall offs just to be sure, but really, like you said, one would usually do it. There's another super chat coming in. Who is that? S.O. Swanson. No. Lenora A with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Okay, here's the rest of that story we were talking about. Okay, the birds got out. They were at the back door. They were all calm until the cat spooked them. So I was wondering in yard. Oh, wait. So I was working in the yard, and the one who got spooked showed up near me. I went to catch it. It was highly flighty, yet it went back towards the quail pen, and I caught it. So don't give up. Yeah, I agree with you. I had a bird get away, and I went over the neighbor's fence, and eventually came back though. Like I said, they kind of come back to that area. I've you usually catch them pretty quick. Like you said, if you just stay after them, they're real flighty, but they kind of wear out pretty quick. So it's like you just kind of keep after them and try to make sure that what I always try to do is, like say, here's my hutch. The bird gets out. I spook it. It flies off this way. So whenever I walk towards it again, I try to walk around this way. So whenever it spooks, it flies back towards it. Try to kind of keep it contained so it doesn't fly over the neighbor's fence or something like that. But like I said, 2 or 3 jumps and they're usually done, and they just kind of they don't really go anywhere then. Um, let's see. James says the cold weather spaked my hen to lay twice. Wait, the cold weather spaked. I don't know what that means. There's probably a typo, but I'm not sure what it's supposed to say. Something my hen to lay twice a day. Now have 2 separate pens with a roux and 2 hens in each pen. Went out there yesterday and found 4 eggs in one cage and found 4 eggs in the other cage. Interesting. Yeah, they're working overtime, huh? Jason says, I used to work for Fleet Car in Hazelwood, Missouri. I agree, it's nice in Missouri. Yeah, I think so too. I'm not sure where Hazelwood is, but I like Missouri. Of course, like I said, I'm kind of biased because I'm from here. This is my home. Um, so, Blessed with Pets says, Andy Rabbit, thanks for sharing. I'll see what Chris says, and I think I'll breed her tomorrow. I think I already answered that one. I think I already got you what you were looking for. Um, hey, Chris Derry Rose Elrod from Arkansas, good to see you. And Tony from Toronto, good to see you too. James says they're outside so they get whatever light the good Lord gives them. What are we talking about? Your birds laying 4 eggs. Really, you're still getting eggs and you don't have any extra lights on them. That's kind of impressive, actually. Lenora, good to see you. You already got me the super chat, so I think I already said hi to you on that. But thank you. And you said great advice. Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad I could give you good advice. Um, and Sundial, you're all welcome too. Let's see. And PJ Homestead, you're welcome. Hey, there's Jupiter. We haven't seen you in a while. Says, hey, Chris, haven't seen you since last year. How are you and the missus doing? Everybody's doing well, thank you. Getting a phone call, but I can call him back. Let's see. Andy Rabbit says, I was out in the yard this morning and I looked down to see a rabbit that came up to me, and I just bent down and picked it up, checked who he was, and I didn't lock the door. I love my silver foxes. Yeah, I left cages open. My rabbits have never gotten out of their cages when I leave them open. But of course, they're pretty high up off the ground, so maybe a little bit, they don't want to get out. They're a little freaked out by that. How are we doing on time here? 7:25 already. S.O. Swanson says, greeting Chris's and y'all from all quail rabbit people from Mississippi. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Oh, so Swanson says, I was like 22 and 23, and there are 45 in here. Some of you are all cheap with those likes. I don't even see on this. I can't see how many likes we got here, but thank you for pushing the likes. I appreciate that. Um, and Birchin' It Up says, love the channel in North Carolina. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're finding it useful. Andy Rabbit says, first time Buck fell off once and then just laid down. The dough was all over him, but he was like, nope, I don't know what just happened. I'm done. Yeah, I know that they sometimes do that. Andy Rabbit said, I felt bad for him and didn't want to scare him away from does, so I pulled her. Yeah, that's probably a good idea because does can intimidate the bucks sometimes, and that can cause problems. Blessed with Pets says, Chris, I know she is old enough to breed because she has been bred before, but I'm wondering how long I should let her settle in before breeding since I've only had her for 3 days. I don't think you really need to worry about letting her settle in at all. I mean, it's perfectly fine to just go right ahead and breed her. In fact, she may be a little bit more apt to breed, being in a new environment and all. Sometimes that's a tactic you can use to get reluctant does to breed, is put them in a new environment. So I'd just go ahead and do it. So there's 46 watching and 32 likes. Well, thank you guys for the likes. I do appreciate that. And Kathleen Thompson from a little up north. I don't know what a little up north is, but I guess it depends on where you're at. It may be a lot up north from some people. But either way, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. All right, so we got a lull in the comments here. It kind of slowed down for just a second. All right, so what's the final verdict on the audio? Is the audio okay? Everybody's good with that? What do I need to tweak here? We'll let that go. Brandon says, Chris, you should be able to pull up the YouTube stream window as well yet and see the likes like normal. Yeah, well, somehow I got 2 live broadcasts going, so the one window I have up is from the other live broadcast I had going or scheduled or something. I don't know. So I don't have it pulled up, actually, and I don't want to mess with it because I'm afraid I'll exit out somehow and cause all kinds of problems. Lenora says, hey Chris, did you start planning outside yet? The weather here is about 35 degrees Fahrenheit in the evenings now here. No, I haven't. I have not started planting outside yet for the season. We got our coldest months coming, January and February. So it's going to be late March probably before I can put anything outside. And that would just be cold season crops, a lot of my greens, maybe onions, that kind of stuff. So no, I'm a ways from being able to do that. Andy Rabbit says, for Blessed with Pets, the first time buck with 10 babies was a doe I had bought, and she went right into the buck's cage. Yep, that's usually how they are. Audio is great. Okay, good. Audio and video is good. Okay, good. Crisp and clear. All right, thank you guys. Everything sounds good. Let's see, Jammin' Mike's here. Says, haven't been on in a while, but still like watching, although I don't do rabbits anymore. Well, hey, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you joining. Kathleen says, when are you going to start your garden? Well, I think I kind of answered that, but let's talk a little bit more in detail. All right, so like I said, really the early season, cool season crops, and I don't really do brassicas because I just never had good luck with them. They just never work out well for me. The problem I have here is and it's probably like this most places, I don't know, but it's like cold, 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 and then it's hot. It's not like we don't get a huge span of just mild, not too cold, not too hot weather. It just seems to kind of jump from one right into the other. And the brassicas just never do well for me. So I don't do those, but I do typically, lettuce, salad greens, peas in the early spring. Those will be probably around April. Our average last frost date is April 15th. If it's like last year, it's going to be way later than that, though. Last year was way later. So I'll start, I'll put some things out around that time, around early April. Peas, onions, lettuce, all that kind of stuff. Potatoes can go in, around St. Patrick's Day usually. They're okay to get started at that point. So some of that stuff will go out there, but the bulk of it, like my tomatoes, all that other stuff. I start all my tomatoes and peppers Those are about the only things I start indoors and get a jump on because, like, everything else grows fast enough I don't need to, or it's not good to transplant. Like okra doesn't do well transplanted, so I just plant it straight in the ground, and it grows fast enough I don't need to start them indoors. But I start my tomatoes and peppers usually about 6 weeks before I plant them out, and I'm going to be plan on planting them out somewhere around Mother's Day. So May 10th, May 12th, somewhere right around in there. So 6 weeks before that puts us back at, what is that, like March, late March, mid March, somewhere right around in there. I always have to look at a calendar. I can't ever keep track of that, but somewhere right around in there, I'll be starting that stuff indoors and getting them going so that I can plant them out, mid May. Um, Everything else that I grow, I usually do green beans, but again, those are fast enough. I just plant those. I just start those right in the ground once it's warm enough. I do okra, I do cucumbers, all that stuff grows fast enough. I don't start it indoors, I just start it outside. I may start some summer squash indoors and some zucchini indoors, but I may just start them outside too. I don't know. Those grow pretty quick too. It just depends. Um, Birching It Up says, how do you keep rabbits from wasting pellets? I don't have a big problem with that. I never have. And I don't know why. I've heard of other people having issues where the rabbits get in the feeders and just dig the feeders out. I don't know that I have great solutions for that. I have seen some feeders where people have taken a piece of like cage wire and put it down inside the feeder so that the rabbits can still get to the food. It's got pretty big squares in it, so the rabbits can still get to the food, but they can't really get in there and dig it out. So it's like a strip of cage wire, like you got your J feeder, and it's got the opening. Say this is the opening to the feeder. The feeder sits like this. This is the opening where they would get in. They take the wire and put it down inside that part right there. So the feed still is right there where the rabbits can get to it, but they can't get in there and dig it out. So you may try something like that and see if that works. I've not had issues with it, so I've never had to do that. The other thing too is maybe wait until they're super hungry before you feed them. That may be helpful too, because if they're, hungry to where when you feed them they just go right in and start eating, that may keep them from digging it out too. All right, David. Our quail hens started putting out 50 or more eggs a day, so we are knee deep in them. Our dog's really enjoying the extras. I bet my dog loves the quail eggs. We had some. I was out collecting eggs during that cold snap that came through, and eggs frozen solid. So I just took them and tossed them. I didn't, I don't. There's no reason to save them for me. So I just tossed them out there, and of course the dog heard him hit the ground, and he ran right over and grabbed one. He picked it up, and he was just like, ah, ah. He eventually spit it out. It was just a big ice cube, basically. Um, all right. Brandon says, okay, so the live you started with the streaming software didn't use your scheduled one, then I get it. If you need any help, let me know. I'd be happy to. Yeah, I think I was kind of playing with it because I haven't really tested. I should have tested it out beforehand. Haven't really got a chance to test it out, so I was playing with it. And I think I scheduled. I did a private one first just to make sure it was going to work, and it did work. And then I went back and tried to set a new one, and I think I got two of them scheduled somehow. I could probably use some help with it. I'm really not. I'm really actually pretty technically savvy most of the time, but for some reason this is very difficult to test out. There's just no easy way to test it. But I may holler at you sometime. Maybe we'll jump on a deal and you can help me. Blessed with Pets says, when I got my Holland Lops, they'd been living together for 2 weeks, so she was pregnant, but the babies died in the cold, and I bred her 4 fall off and no babies. Then I decided to let them live together. Okay, live together for a while, and we shall see how that turns out. I put them together Christmas Day, and they are still together. Well, good luck. I hope that works out well. Silverthorn says, have you ever done a dry hatch for your quail? I'm doing dry incubation, 22% humidity, then full humidity at lockdown. I don't know what you mean by full humidity. Does that mean just like the normal amount of humidity, or does that mean like you're going to 100% humidity? Because if you do 100% humidity, you're going to drown your birds and die. They're going to die. But I'm assuming what you mean is just you're going to bump it up to normal humidity, but you're running it really low. I have done dry incubation before. 22% is probably a little lower than what it normally is. In the summertime, I usually do dry hatches. And same kind of thing. I don't put any water in there, let it go, and then around right about lockdown, I just put a little bit in to bump it up just a little bit. But it's pretty humid here in the summer, and in the wintertime it's pretty dry. So I think in the summertime when I'm doing dry hatches, I'm probably running somewhere around 40%, 45% humidity, maybe maybe a little lower than that. I don't know, but I've gotten pretty good results with that doing it. It's worked pretty well. In the wintertime though, I do tend to have to add a little bit of water, but summertime usually works well. Um, Brandon wants to know, did you grow anything over the winter this year? I did not. Sometimes I do some like hydroponic lettuce and stuff like that. I just didn't do it this year. It was a busy year. There was a lot of changes, a lot of things going on, so I just didn't mess with it. And Andy says I need to really look into water glassing. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it. I did hear some things that were like reasons why you might not want to do it. I don't remember what they were, and I know it's been done for hundreds of years, so maybe who knows? Maybe they were just full of it. Brandon says, I always have to start peppers at the end of January or beginning of February so they can grow big enough. Also, we'll get two harvests this way on some varieties. Well, my peppers tend to do, I get more than enough peppers from them. But, my growing season's probably a little bit longer than yours. We have from about, like I said, about the first, second week of May at the most until like the end of October, you know, roughly the middle to end of October. So we probably get a little bit more time in our growing season. I don't have to worry about getting them started too early. The reason I don't start in February or January or February is they get so big by the time it's time to put them out. I'm having to pot them up, and there's just hard to find enough room to store them and get grow lights over them and all, because they get huge by that time. So I just don't. I try to wait a little bit. So David wants to know, what is water glassing eggs? You kind of have to look it up to understand exactly how to do it. It's a way to preserve eggs. Um, it involves like lime, like not like not like lemon lime, but like pickling lime, basically. I don't know the exact. I couldn't give you a breakdown of exactly how to do it, but it's basically a way to preserve eggs. Um, so Kundalisa wants to know, Brandon, where are you at? I don't know if you've answered that yet or not, but he's in Wisconsin. So, generally, what you're looking at, you want to start your peppers, your tomatoes, things like that, about 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Now, let's see, you're in Connecticut. Your growing season's probably reasonably long. I would go more with like 6 weeks before your last frost date, because, like I said, they'll get. Tomatoes and peppers, tomatoes especially, get great big. By 8 weeks old, by 8 weeks, they're pretty good size, and you're going to have to plan for that. But you should be able to. And if you just go online and look up, whatever your area is, average last frost date, count back 6 weeks, start them then. Johnny Select Seeds has a good planting calendar. You can just put in your area, and it will tell you exactly when to start everything indoors, plant out, whatever. And it goes through all kinds of stuff. So, but tomatoes, now, summer squash, zucchini, that kind of stuff, pumpkins, watermelon, I wouldn't start any of that stuff. I would start that maybe 3 weeks before you're going to plant it out, because that stuff gets super big super fast, and it can be really difficult to. I wouldn't start that 6 weeks ahead of time. You'll have a big plant on your hands by the time it's time to go outside. And chances are, and here's the problem with that too, is that if you don't have a big enough pot, your plants can get root bound if they get that big. So you have to make sure that you do pot them up. And I only like to pot up just a couple of times before, maybe twice before I have to plant them out. I don't like to have to pot them out too many times. Musage, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Creation says, just picked up my first incubator. What are some steps and things to be looking out for when getting it going? Oh boy. First things first, get a couple of thermometers, non-digital if you can. Make sure they can be calibrated, make sure they're accurate. Throw them in there, run that incubator for a little while, and make sure that it's actually reading temperature correctly. It's pretty common for incubators to be off just a little bit, so it may read 99 degrees, but it's actually only 98, or maybe it's 100. So you want to make sure that it's reading accurate, and that'll help you make sure that you get it, get your incubator calibrated. Now, you can't really calibrate the incubator in the sense that you can't, more than likely, you can't adjust it to read correctly, but what you can do is get a baseline so that you know it reads 1 degree too high or 1 degree too low or whatever. So instead of like if it says 99 and it's actually only 98, well then you know you need to bump it up a degree to get it to 99, if that makes sense. So that would be the first things I would do. Other than that, I mean, if I'm assuming you're incubating quail. The first 14, 15 days are going to be just, you really don't need to, they're not as stressful, I guess, is what I'm saying. Don't stress about it too much. Put your eggs in there. If you have an egg turner, even better. If you don't, just reach in there and kind of roll them around a couple of times a day for the first 14 days. You want to keep your humidity somewhere around 45 to 50% is probably ideal. If it gets a little bit below that, it's okay. You don't want it too much higher than that, so don't go crazy with that. Take some time now to learn how much water you need to put in your incubator to get the humidity leveled out. So you can do that before you ever start incubating. Put some water in it, let it go for a couple of days, watch the humidity levels. That'll give you an idea of how much you're going to need. So those would be my tips on that. And then, 14 days, day 15, day 16, probably day 15 actually, is lockdown. So you'll take your eggs out of the incubator. You'll quit rolling them around, whatever it is. Bump the humidity up just a little bit. Try to get it up to about 75 to 80%. Don't want to go too much higher than that. Shut the incubator. Do not open it again until the birds have hatched. That's basically it. I say till the birds have hatched. But, your birds should start hatching out on day 17, 18. Somewhere around in there, you'll probably get like one or two that'll hatch out, and then boom, you'll get a whole bunch. And then a few stragglers after that. So once the birds hatch out, don't just reach in and grab them. Let them wait till they're all dry and fluffy. They can go 48, they can even go 72 hours in the incubator without you taking them out. I usually take them out after about 24 hours when they're all dry, fluffy. Try not to open the incubator whenever there's birds that have pipped the shell but haven't hatched. Sometimes that's hard to tell. But anyway, if you do need to, like you've got birds that have hatched out, it's been 24, 48 hours, they're all dry, they're all fluffy, not all the rest of your eggs have hatched out. Open the incubator, get the birds out as quick as you can, and close it back up and let it go. And let it go until, till you're pretty confident. I usually let them go till about day 22-ish. And then if anything, if there's still eggs in there that haven't hatched, I just call it at that point and decide they're not going to hatch. That's kind of a quick rundown. I do have a whole video series. If you go back to my channel page, you can find a video series on hatching or storing and incubating eggs, I think it is, and it runs through all that detail and more detail and more, like all the steps to do it. You can go watch that and it'll walk you through it. Blessed with Pets says I've only had one rabbit I only have one rabbit that is not pedigree, and that's my tricolor mini Rex buck. The rest are pedigree. 2 red mini Rex does, a broken blue Holland Lop doe, and a broken black Tort Holland Lop buck. Nice. Well, it's always good to have some pedigree rabbits. Andy Rabbit says my quail are starting to lay full force again today. I'm about to get overloaded again. Yeah, mine are doing pretty good too. They've picked back up. Bob says, please be sure to like before you leave. Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. Let's see. Kundalisa said something, and I scrolled and lost it. Oh, Kundalisa says, called a learning curve. Be gentle, compassionate with yourself, Chris. Called a learning curve. Oh, you're talking about like my learning curve with the software I'm using right now. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You're right. It is a learning curve for sure. It's just, it's just hard to test out. That's all there is to it. I mean, I think I got it figured out. It's just, I can't hear myself to know if my audio is good. I just need to play with it a little bit and do it off time and not like right whenever I'm going live. Yeah, Silverthorn says normal amount of humidity. I kind of figured that's what you meant. Practical Junk says hello from Tennessee. Thank you for all the great advice over the years. Has been much appreciated. Hope the auto sifter helps. Oh yeah, I saw that auto sifter. I commented on it actually. That looked pretty cool. It looked like a pretty neat idea. I don't know if I'll build one or not. I may. Who knows? But if you guys haven't seen it, it was posted in the Facebook group. Basically a sifter for like your sand and stuff over a bucket, had a thing that vibrates the bucket. So you just put your stuff in there. It plugs in and put your sand in the strainer basically, and then this thing shakes the bucket to sift it all through. It looked pretty nice. I kind of liked it. Um, Base Place says, Chris, with my arrow garden, I do have lettuce to eat in a week. Yeah, I do have an arrow garden, and it works pretty well. It does pretty good with lettuce. My experience with trying to go herbs in it, because we've grown some like basil and some of those kinds of things in it, is that they just don't have much flavor. Lettuce, I mean, lettuce doesn't have a ton of flavor anyway, so it doesn't matter. But lettuce seems to do pretty good. We do get good lettuce out of it, and I probably should kick my arrow gardens back on because why not, right? Have some lettuce, salad greens, and things like that. Um, but where was I going with that? Oh, but the herbs like basil, we've grown basil, we grew dill. Dill wasn't bad; it was okay, but the basil was very bland. It didn't have good, strong flavor. I really think that herbs, I mean, herbs are basically weeds that we just know. I think they need to be stressed out a little bit to get good flavor in them. So I don't know. It just doesn't do good with those. But yeah, it does great with salad greens and things. Kundalisa says, yeah, can get leggy. I think you're talking about plants getting leggy. If your plants are getting leggy, you don't have enough light on them. So you might be able to see I don't know if you can see this behind me, this shelf behind me right here with these two lights on it. That's my seed starting section right there. There's actually more lights down here, and I've got other stuff on the shelves right now, but I'll be clearing it out. So you want those lights, like, those are just shop lights is all they are, and they've got daylight bulbs in them. They're not super bright, or I mean, they're not like anything special, but you want them just almost touching your plants. I mean, just as close as you can get them to the plants. They're on chains, so I can raise them and lower them as the plants grow, but that'll keep your plants from getting leggy. If they're getting leggy, they're reaching for light. There's not enough light, and yeah, that's a bad thing, especially with tomatoes. Tomatoes not as bad because you can plant tomatoes as deep as you want to, and they'll grow roots anywhere along their stem. Peppers are not that way. Lettuce is not that way. I mean, you need the lights right down on top of them to get them to grow strong. Um, Lenora says, do you need vitamins for an arrow garden and mildew control tablets? Not really. I mean, some mildew grows in there, but it's not that bad because it's blocked off from the light. So it doesn't, I mean, yeah, you clean it out after you're done before you start new plants. And but that's like a long time. I mean, it goes a long time, and it gets a little bit of mildew in there, not much. As far as vitamins go, you do have to feed the plants. You have to put some kind of food in there. Arrow Garden makes a food. You put like a capful in every, I can't remember what it is, every 2 weeks or something like that. And it does a good job. It works pretty well. I did a video a while back on a crack key method of hydroponics. Now, the good thing about the Arrow Garden is the light's contained right there. It's super easy. The crack key method, hang on. I grow in these containers. It's just a little 3-gallon container, and I can grow 3 big heads of lettuce in there. These are pool noodles that are cut down. You basically start the plants as normal. You stick them in here. You put the water and the nutrient solution in here, and then you put it under light. And again, keep the lights pretty close to the top of them, and then just let it go. This is a passive, hydroponic system. It will grow. You don't have to do anything, and it just goes from there. That's pretty nice, actually. It works pretty well, and I was pretty impressed with that. I may start that back up too. Kundalisa says, we have low sun here, high murky cloud cover most days. Well, but that's not a problem when you're growing outside. I'm talking about when you're starting your plants inside, you're growing your plants inside, you need the lights really close. But, high cloud cover and things the sun's still super bright. So when your plants are going outside, hey, Max, coming to see us, buddy? When you're growing outside, it doesn't matter if there's some cloud cover or any of those kinds of things. The sun is still way brighter than any light that you're going to have indoors. So that's not as big of an issue outside. Vase Place says, when I was in Northwest Ohio, I would start seedlings February 2nd. Now in Southwest Ohio, I'm starting soon. Interesting. Andy Rabbit says, is it 3 weeks when putting a hen with a new rooster to be sure that the babies are his? Oh boy, that's a good question. Okay, so let's see. It seems like I think it's 2 weeks before they clear out all the previous roosters' stuff, I guess. I want to say it's about 2 weeks. They'll stay fertile for about 2 weeks after being bred. But 3 weeks is probably a good rule of thumb. Let's see. What are you doing, Max? What are you doing, buddy? Okay. Yeah, I know. So, quit. He likes to nose my hand. Okay, there you go. Go on now. Go. I try to reach for my mouse to scroll down the comments and he bumps my arm. It's like, yeah, Vase Place says that the Aero Garden, it aerates the water, so the only thing that you need is the food. Yeah, it's self-contained. Those Aero Gardens are pretty darn convenient. They've got the light system with it. I mean, everything. The light's right there. It's got a pump that aerates the water. You just have to put food in it every once in a while. Lenora says the Aero Garden looks so hard to use. No, they're actually pretty easy. They're super easy. Very simple, straightforward, not hard at all. Hey, there's Jasmine. Good to see you, Jasmine. Says, hello, friends. Long time no see from Southwest Missouri. Haven't been able to catch the live in a while. Missed it. That's all right. We don't keep track of that. We're glad to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. John says, I just watched your video asking if fruit trees are worth it. Did you ever get a solution for those squirrels? Also, have you ever heard back from backyard orchard culture? Have you ever heard of backyard orchard culture? No, I have not heard of that. I'll have to, here, let me make a note of that somewhere. Backyard orchard culture. There we go. So it's a nursery, I guess. I'll check it out later and see. Yeah, as far as a solution for the squirrels, well, I built a trap. I trapped a whole bunch of them. I bought a new pellet rifle. I bought a Gammo Whisper Hornet, I think it was, because it was on sale for pretty cheap. It's got a 10-round magazine in it. It's a break barrel. It's got a 10-round magazine in it, so you just break the barrel and you're ready to shoot. Break the barrel, ready to shoot. So that's pretty cool. It's a spring piston air gun, so it's not. It takes a little bit of learning how to shoot those things, and it's not. I mean, in about 25 yards or so, I'm pretty good. After that, a little iffy. But it's a 22 caliber, so it does a good job. It has taken out a few squirrels, and I haven't seen any back there for a little while now. We'll see how it goes in the spring whenever things start coming back on. I think I said that in the video too. I don't mind sharing with the squirrels. It really doesn't bother me a bit that they take a little bit here and there or whatever. But the problem is they don't share with me. They take everything. I mean, all my peaches, all my pawpaws, I haven't had a pawpaw yet off my tree, and it's produced every year that I've had it, basically. Well, the first couple of years it didn't, but, since it got to size, it produced every year, and I haven't got a single pawpaw off of it. Didn't get a single peach off my peach tree. Anyway, you get the story. That's why I had to thin them out. David says, my rabbit had babies, and due to the cold I brought inside. Can I move them back outside at 3 to 4 weeks, or will relocating mom and babies affect, and mom may reject? No, you're fine. Move them outside if you want to. Take the nest box, move it out with the mom. She'll take care of them. Don't worry about it. It should be fine. Now, of course, I said that. Now you'll have problems. But no, you really should not have any problems. That whole mother abandoning her babies, that's incredibly rare. Very seldom, if ever, happens. It's kind of really an old wives' tale. Let's see, we go. Jasmine says, I'm happy to report something. I scrolled. Oh my gosh, we've got a lot of comments. I don't think I'm going to get them to them all. Jasmine says, I'm happy to report that our first-time litter of American rabbits are doing great, or doing really well. No losses. First-time mom is excellent. Her babies are fat. And all the other does were successfully bred Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, that's awesome. I wish I was so lucky. My doe does not want to breed. But, days are starting to get longer. We'll see. Let's see. We got a bunch of people talking to each other, so I'm going to skip over there. There we go. Alicia says, what % genetics of a breed to be on a pedigree, i.e. 75% Flemish, considered Flemish, what number? Really it's considered, here's the thing. Pedigrees are kind of on your honor, so, there's not necessarily a set rule that says, there's no nobody can verify that information, if that makes sense. It's just kind of a tracking of their family history and all that. But theoretically, a pedigree should be 100%, should be purebred. Now, I don't know that I can answer that for you. I mean, if it's 90%, this one breed, that's probably, I mean, who's going to know the difference, right? But technically it should be 100%. And it's really best to say that, because it is an on your honor thing, we want to keep it honest, we want to keep it pure. I mean, I wouldn't call them 100% Flemish unless they are 100% Flemish. And that's really what a pedigree should mean. Jeremiah Johnson says, question, best recipe to sell my wife on eating quail, just harvested 4 males. Okay, so, well, it's hard to say for sure because I don't know what your wife's tastes are like, but I would suggest something that maybe smothers them because they can be a little bit dry, they can be a little bit tough sometimes because they're so lean. So think, excuse me. Choked on my own saliva there. So I would suggest something like, maybe a basic saute. Cut the breast off the bone, makes it a little bit easier to eat. Lightly flour it, brown it on all sides in a pan in some oil, bacon grease, whatever you have. Take them out once they're just lightly browned, not cooked through, just browned a little bit. Get them out of the pan, throw some flour in there, make a roux, thin it out and make a gravy with it. You can do that with water, you can do that with milk, cream, whatever you want to do. Maybe throw some mushrooms and onions and things like that in there. Put the quail back in there, simmer it for 30-45 minutes until everything's done, and then serve it with some, thick egg noodles or mashed potatoes or something like that. That's pretty good, and it turns out pretty good, so that's a good way to try it. If you said you have a Traeger, so another thing that's worked out really well, cut the breast meat off, kind of flatten them out just a little bit. It doesn't take much. They're not real big. Lay some, depends on what you want, cheese, jalapeno, whatever. Fold it over, wrap it up with some bacon, brush it with some barbecue sauce. I've also done blue cheese, wrap it with bacon, brush it with Frank's Red Hot, and then grill those off till the bacon's done. The quail's going to be done at that point, and those are pretty good too, so that's a good way to try it as well. There's a couple of good things. Brandon says smoked quail is good. Yeah, and I will tell you, most people that I've given, fed quail to, they like it. Most people think quail's pretty good. Jasmine Bass says, I'm so happy to have rabbit babies again after the long wait as my pedigree rabbits get too old to breed. Felt like a lifetime. Yeah, I know what that means. I mean, yeah, I was a long time without rabbits. Now I finally got rabbits and they don't want to breed. So it'll get over. It won't be forever. They'll get over it. Matt says, if a little rabbit urine gets on the poop, does that make it hot? Just curious because I have interest from people wanting to purchase, just don't want their plants or vegetables burnt. No, don't worry about that at all. I don't separate out my urine from my manure. I just dump it right on the garden. Now, it will keep it a little, I mean, if you're going to be selling it to other people, and it's not going to matter if urine gets on it, it's not going to burn their plants, you're going to be fine. But it will make it nicer to store up if you can keep it dry, because you try to put wet manure in feed bags, it gets kind of gross. And anyway, if you can keep it dry or dry it out before you sell it, that's going to be the best way to do it. And actually, if you could find a way to dry it and then crush it up and crumble it up so it's more like a dust, a powder, it's much easier to market to people. People are just, they don't see it as manure anymore, I guess. I don't know. Jasmine says, Chris, my garden seed starting setup looks really similar to yours in the corner. Yeah, mine sits right in my living room most of the time. Yeah, it sits right back here behind me. I've got that little cubby hole back there that I just figured was a good enough place for it. So, yeah, it makes sense. Cheap, works well. Don says, I grow Kratky passive bok choy, lots of lettuce, basil, oregano, cucumber, tomatoes, squash, lots of other things. Fed bok choy to the quail today, and they were nuts. Gobbled it up. I need to try bok choy. I've actually never tried it. Don't know if it's any good or not, so I need to try it out because I see lots of people growing it. But I also see lots of people growing kale, and I think kale is gross. I don't know why everybody wants to grow kale. It's not good. It's so bad. But, who knows? Maybe I'd like Maybe I would like it. I did hear a good tip though about like if you want to cook kale, if you're gonna like in a pan, you're gonna fry it in coconut oil because it makes it a whole lot easier to slide it out into the trash. Sundial Fragrance says, Chris, can you do a video on passive hydroponics? I did a video on it actually on the Cracky method. That was boy, it's been a while back, but yeah, there's a video on my channel somewhere about it. Witch Doctor, good to see you. It's been a little while. Hope you guys are doing well. Says, good evening, everyone. We're just rolling in from work. Oh, hopefully it wasn't too bad of a day. Lenora says, a nice homemade hydro set to grow lettuce, Chris. Yeah, I don't know if that's continuation of something else, but you're right. It is. Yeah, Max, he can be a pest sometimes, but that's all right. We're out of time, aren't we? Yeah, we're way past. Hey, there's Little Ridge Farm. Says howdy everyone. Chris, ways for others to help us with our house fire is in my about section now. Okay, so go check out Little Ridge Farm if you guys don't know how to house fire burn down. Looking for some support there. We do what you can to help them out. Go check out Little Ridge Farm's YouTube channel. Are some ways where you can help them out in the description. If everybody gives just a little bit, it can make a big difference. We're still praying for you, man. Hang in there. It's going to get better. All right. Hey, there's Psycho Ward 2. Good to see you. Said, hope everyone is well in the new year. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. And then, yeah, I love the coconut oil tip. That same sentiments on kale. Yeah, that's my deal. So, all right, guys, I got to wrap this one up. I know there's lots of comments there I didn't get to. If I didn't get to yours tonight, I apologize. Thanks again for sticking with me through the confusion. Last week, issues getting connected. This week, trying out new software. Obviously, don't know what I'm doing. Messed it all up. Had 2 live broadcasts going, but we got it going now. So, anyway, thanks a lot for joining me. Always appreciate it. We'll see you guys hopefully next week. I don't see any reasons why we can't be on next week. And until